This might be the most important piece of information that you need if you're trying to make an MPE mono legato sound in Surge XT. I covered this in my video on how to make human voices, or how to try to make human voices, so you might have seen this before. But I felt like it's an important enough thing that it deserved its own video that is not an hour and a half long. So this is the problem we're trying to fix. If you're using MPE pressure to control the volume of your sound, which is the way you're supposed to do MPE, that's like the standard thing. And you want to have a very dynamic sound, so you want it to go from silent to a fairly loud volume. When you play that in mono ST, single trigger, which is Surge's name for legato mode, you play the first note, and then you come in with the second note. The first note stops immediately, but the second note starts with a pressure of 0, or a very low pressure, because your finger hasn't sunk into it yet. And you get these little stoppages, little gaps in the sound, little losses of energy that you would not get if you're playing like a real acoustic legato instrument. And it really messes up your trills. Anyway, so what we want to fix that is a lag or a slew limiter. And what that'll do is that'll slow down the change between the full pressure and the no pressure. So at a surface level, we don't have anything in Surge that'll do that for us, but if we dig a little deeper, we do have in our modulators, we have an expression mode that we can use to type in a bunch of code. Doesn't that sound like fun? But we don't have to type the code. That's already been done for us. If we go to the tutorials, now we'll be loading a new patch here. So hopefully you're not in the middle of something very intensive. So we have a slew limiter preset, and that has over here in form 1.1, it's an expression, and it has a bunch of code. And what the slew limiter is doing right now is it's modulating the pitch. Now this is going to be super loud, so I'm going to turn it down some. And I play a note. What we have here, here's our expression with a bunch of code that we don't need to worry about. This expression, form 1.1, is modulating the pitch of this sine wave. And LFO2 is a square wave modulating the sustain of this envelope that is attached to form 1.1. So this code here is acting on the sustain, and it's slowing it down. Which is why this square wave is coming out sounding like a sine wave. Now another thing that the script has done is it's taken over macros 1 and 2. And so now these are speeds. So if I turn the up rate all the way up, this sine wave should jump to a high pitch immediately, but it's going to be slower going down. So that's what we need. These are the controls that we need. And what we need to do is slow down the down rate so that when we hit that second note, we will carry over the pressure from the first note. So what I'm going to do is go back to form 1.1, turn down the sustain to 0, remove that LFO modulation, add an MPE pressure modulation, crank it all the way up there, turn our oscillator volume all the way down, but modulate it with form 1.1, bring it all the way back up, and remove the form modulation of the pitch. Now if I turn this down rate back up, we should hear the same kind of weakness in the trill that we heard before. And turn our gain up a little bit and give us some feedback so we have a little more that we can hear in this sine wave. And set us to mono ST. Now all we have to do is turn down the down rate to carry over that pressure into the next note. So that's how you fix that problem, and the way to do that only once and not every time you make a sound. Let's rename this guy Slew Limiter. And in this little menu here, we can save this formula preset. And let's just call that Slew Limiter. Although I'm going to add a 2 because I've already saved this one. So now when I want to use the Slew Limiter, go back to this sound. Give myself the full dynamic range. It's still so loud. Now I can just come down here to an unused LFO, go to expression mode, load my saved formula, get rid of that oscillator 1 volume, and instead use the pressure curve to modulate the Slew Limiter. Set my macros the way I wanted them. And use the Slew Limiter to modulate the oscillator volume. And now I have a fully dynamic ranged mono legato sound without that little gap between the notes. So there you go, that's how you do that. Have fun.